Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Hardcore Heroes. So, Van Helsing, temporary sole survivor
Yep.
of the core party, at least. Darf is still around. He's out there playing with little Robert as you go about your duties. Which
I'm gonna flag down Jeeves after about a day. I'm gonna say, Jeeves, it'd be good if you could come with me for a journey.
Of course, Master Van Helsing.
I don't know. It might come to nothing. You may not do anything by the end of it, but just in case, it'd be good if you were there.
What do you need me to do, my lord?
I just need your presence.
Your Highness.
It's just call me Van.
Of course.
Or stick to Master Van. That one was fine.
Where are we going?
A place called.
Get the carriage.
Oh no, that's fine. I can take care of that. And I'm gonna unfailing endurance us first, and then I'll solipsism us a palanquin carried by like a dozen incredibly buff shirtless men.
I remember when I used to look like that. Those were the days.
We all grow old eventually, Jeeves.
You seem to be young still. Perhaps
Speaking
forever.
of, did I pick up Malachi's amulet that let him like age slower while he was wearing it?
You picked up all of his magic gear, right?
Yeah.
It's in there.
Oh, sweet. All right. I am young, and apparently I'm going to be young for a while still, Jeeves.
The gods do have their favorites. I suppose it's only natural for a cleric of Cheese to never truly fade away.
Well, eventually we all die.
Yes, my lord.
All right. And I guess we will travel cross country out of Bontheris. Ooh, we'd have to go through war-torn land. Should we take a ship first? Maybe we should take a ship first.
Whatever you say, my lord. But you will be able to find a ship in Bontheris that will take you all the way over to... Where are you going?
Probably just like around, like just south of the Firewood, I think is what it's called. The one near Anvil.
Mm-hmm.
It's like around here, or maybe up to here. Whichever one works for them.
Yeah, you can get a ship. It'll take you there. It'll take a little over a week or so. I think we are entering into June by now.
Mm-hmm.
And you can land near the Firewood. Near the
Perfect.
ruins of Anvil is probably going to be the best place.
Mm-hmm.
There's some question as to whether or not Anvil is actually safe to dock at, because there's still like a port there, but the town is dead.
You could just row us to shore. We don't need to go into Anvil.
Yeah. The boat will sit out beyond the breakwaters, and they'll put you guys in a little dinghy and row you over. What things did you gather from your house?
Food is one of the only things that I really brought. Like all the normal equipment. I left some of Malachi's stuff. I brought his books. I have the Staff of Light because I'm not sure if I can use it or not, and I feel like that might be useful. I should probably test that actually.
Yeah, why don't you tell us what it is that you think would be the proper lure for Malachi's soul? What do you think it is that he might love more than anything else, or be
It's either
drawn to?
his spell books or Jeeves are my first two guesses. That's why I brought Jeeves with me. Maybe Van. I could see Van being in there, but I'm there by default anyways, so either way we've got a lure. I'm pretty confident that one of these three things.
Spell books or Jeeves. Okay.
Yeah.
There's nothing else he loved out there. Money wasn't a thing of his, right?
Money was a means to an end for Malachi.
Yeah. He didn't have a girlfriend or a wife or a child.
No, and like he was pretty up on his reputation, but I think like he was up on his reputation because he wanted respect from the people that he cared about, like Jeeves.
Yeah. He didn't have anything that he didn't have
He
any
loves
people.
dwarves.
Right. The only people in his life were you and Jeeves. Everyone else was clearly second or third. Even Darf was not that important to him. I mean, you know, a friend.
Yeah, but
subordinate,
I think Jeeves was definitely his number one.
Okay. You guys can row into the port of Anvil. The city lies destroyed, walls toppled, dry, burned out remains of wooden buildings, stone buildings blackened with fire but still standing. Rats scurry through the streets. Deer are standing around eating at whatever remains.
How many magic
Wildlife
rings can you wear at a time? Is it two?
Two.
One
on each hand. Yeah. Specifically on the ring finger of each hand, there's a vein that runs directly from your heart to that finger, and that's where the magic resides.
Cool. All right, so I've got both the Ring of Featherfall and the Ring of Fire Resistance then.
Okay. And you're wearing the amulet of the elves?
Isn't it just a token that you carry on you?
Sure. You don't have to wear it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I have the Staff of Light, which I probably use as like a walking stick.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna test it at some point, actually, see if I can like use any of its powers. I'm not sure if you have to be a wizard or not.
Yeah, it certainly doesn't respond to any of your commands.
Oh, if it doesn't work for me at all, then I'll just leave it at home.
Okay.
Can I use wands as a cleric?
Use what?
Wands.
Wands that have clerical spells. Yes. Wands that have
I can't use
arcane spells. No.
Wait, can't everyone use wands though?
I don't think so. Maybe making me doubt myself. Let me double check. I could be full of crap.
I thought that was part of the reason that wands were so cool. Let me... Shit. Hold on. Money, magical items, artifacts. Magical items. Magic items? Wands? Here we go, wands. Oh, that's a table.
Wands. The DM's option, 1% of all wands can be trapped to backfire. That's a dick move. Legit. When created, wands typically contain these charges. Wands never have a greater number. Must be recharged. Some items are class restricted.
Looking, and I'm not seeing anything about... I actually don't see much about wands in here.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the DMG.
Yeah, I'm looking at the treasure side of the DMG.
No,
I'm not seeing anything here about them being class locked, but some things certainly are, and I thought wands were one of them.
Wands. I don't think that's 2E. Huh.
I think they're class locked.
I can't
find anything on it though.
Check the class section in the PHB. I don't think they would do wands under classes. Maybe it's in the PHB though. That would be useful information in the PHB to let you know whether or not you can use them. So let's take a look.
Yeah.
Movement, spell list, treasure, probably. Magical items. Wands are commonly used by wizards, allowing them to activate. Staves can be used by either a wizard or a priest. Oh, apparently priests can use staves too.
Oh, really?
It says staves can be used by either a wizard or a priest.
Does it matter which staff type?
I don't know. This is in the PHB.
Right, okay.
So you operate with a companion where no wand staff by mere sight or handling, careful research, or often need to see the potential story. Each use drains them slightly. There's no power. A wizard or a priest.
First of all.
Let me look at like specific stabs and see if they mention like a class lock on them. Because if there's no class lock on the stabs themselves, then you would assume it's just like any cleric or priest.
I agree. Maybe you
would it say the class lock under the item list?
Yeah, it would probably say like staff of blah 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 can only be used.
Oh yeah, okay. So some of them will list it, and then some don't, which probably means that they're not class locked. So like if you look at the, we can check the wands section actually. Yeah, so some wands are listed as wizard only, and some aren't.
Okay.
And then stabs, I guess it depends, because the Staff of Light is a special item, so I guess it depends. But most stabs are not wizard only, interestingly. The only two I see that are only for wizards are the Magi and Power Stabs. And then everything else is either not class locked, or Priest plus Wizard, or Druid. And the one that I have is not wizard only.
What wand do you have? Detection?
Size alteration.
Size alteration? Okay.
Figure that might be useful in a pinch.
Yeah. Wand of size alteration.
Does not list wizard only.
And target need not make a saving throw. Does not mention wizard or cleric within it. Okay. I will go ahead and say that you can use this. Well, yeah. Go for it.
And what about the Staff of Light?
Let's see. Staff of Light was a custom item for a custom wizard. Do you know its abilities off the top of your head? I'd have to check.
Malachi could send them to me. I remember I know you could like tap it on the ground to illuminate any like grounded creatures within 60 or 100 feet. There was, you can make like a flash with it, I remember, to like blind people. It's probably on the wiki actually. Oh, clerics can use, somebody found a passage for it. Use a fair number of magical items, including priest scrolls, most potions and rings, some wands and rods, staves, armor, shields, and magical versions of any weapons allowed by their order. Let me...
Staff of Light. Shines light at will, touch negate magical darkness permanently, wave, light torches, candles, campfires, and other objects that be rid. Cast ray of light to blind 2d6 turns or permanently. Choice of caster once per day. Out of the staff twice per day. Illuminate all creatures. 4 per day. Fill current room and all adjacent rooms with light. Okay. I guess this seems like it can be used by either wizard or cleric, so you can use them both.
Cool.
All right.
All right. Yeah, I'll take the Staff of Light with me then. That seems useful.
And you left.
Does this use charges at all, or is it not a charge-based staff?
Not a charge-based staff. It's per day. So I think it's got 2 or 3 things that can be used at will, and then something that's once per day, twice per day, 4 times per day.
Okay, got it. Okay.
And you left Darf back in Bontheris.
Yes, Darf is not coming to this one.
So it's you and Jeeves.
Yep.
Walking
going
across,
by shirtless palanquin.
Walking across the Golden Sea by shirtless palanquin. Plains View is going to be right on your way. If you try to go out of your way, you can probably find it, or you can just ignore it and probably not pass it at all.
Yeah, I'll just pass it.
All right. You walk, or are carried is more apt, for, let's see, 75 miles, going about 20 miles a day is going to be about 3.5 days to get there. All right.
Well, technically, I think we can go faster because we never have to stop.
That's true. What's the duration of your spell?
Infinite. Solipsism goes as long as I concentrate on it, and I don't have to sleep because of unfailing endurance.
Well then, you can be there rather quickly. As quickly as you like. you will find a village at some point, somewhere in the plains, and since you've never been to the one that you're looking for, I guess you'll have to ask for directions.
Yeah, I guess she gave me a description of her temple, right?
She said it was just in the middle of the village, and that any of her people would be able to show you there.
Okay. I'm gonna get sort of the layout of this town and sort of ask around about this place when we first arrive. And I'm also gonna find like an inn, hopefully, that I can put Jeeves in, because I'm still not sure what we're gonna do here. This might not end well for any parties involved, so let's keep Jeeves out of the thick of it for now.
The first village you come across is not the one you're looking for, but when you ask for directions to Barovia, they will point you in the right way. And after passing 2 or 3 small villages, you come across Barovia. It's a tiny little town in the middle of the Golden Sea. It lies between 2 hills where there's a small creek that bisects the town. You can see a church in the middle with a tall steeple. All the other buildings are single-story, thatched roofs, mud brick walls. The church is made of stone with a wood-shingled roof. There aren't a lot of trees around here, but few ones there are in town, giving people shade. There's maybe 60 buildings in town total, not including outlying farm villages or farm houses, I should say. You can see some fenced-off pastures where there are goats being kept. Some cows are being kept over here, some sheep over there. Someone's trying to scratch out a meager living, tilling the soil and trying to farm crops, but in this big open plain, there's not often a lot of rainfall, so it's just that one little creek that has to supply all the water. So there's not much in the way of actual crops. The people in the village are going about their day as this palanquin filled with strong... Actually, they have to choose to believe it, right?
Yeah, so they see us probably like floating in a slightly hazy like mass, and then they like probably try to believe what they're seeing by scrubbing their eyes, and they maybe see the palanquin.
Yeah, they will probably when you leave, they will probably talk amongst themselves, and someone will say they saw you carried by a dozen men, and someone else will be like, "That's ridiculous. I saw him. It was nothing."
On a cloud of vapor.
Yeah, there was just like this fuzziness around it. They will inevitably argue over the reality of the situation. But here you arrive in Barovia. To the surprise of the villagers, a literal prince in plate mail showing up in their little backwater town.
I'm gonna go around and talk to some people, and when I'm talking to people, I'll probably mostly engage in small talk, but I'm also trying to kind of gauge, I'm expecting people to be nervous around me, but I also want to try and gauge their demeanor in general. Do these look like kind of run-down people? Do they look like they're relatively content? That's kind of what I'm aiming for. What I'm going to try and kind of softly pry at.
Mostly they're like blown away by you arriving here. This like handsome prince in plate mail with a shield, and this butler next to him, and you've got a staff and this sword, and the sword is clearly magical, and this like fancy armor. There's lots of stumbling over their words, and yes, milording, no milording, awkwardness, but they'll answer your questions, of course, as you put them to them. Them looking excited
is probably a good sign that this place isn't like an absolute hellhole, right?
Yeah.
Because we went over Fortune, right? And that place looked terrible. It looked miserable.
This does not quite look like Fortune. Okay. Certainly, at a certain point, all shitty little villages out in the middle of nowhere during hard times are going to have, a depressed atmosphere around it.
Right, but this isn't that.
Right, this is not sort of the soulless, empty, haunted eyes of people who live under the rule of a Dark Lord. This is more of just the, well, shit, life has been hard for a long time and whatnot. What sort of information do you try to get out of them?
It's probably just small talk. So I'm asking, how have things been going lately? Have you had any issues with the demons? Have you seen any of them? That kind of stuff.
Right. So they will tell you that the demons never quite made it out here. that some of the people in this village did evacuate when some riders came through shouting about demons coming, but most people stayed. And then the demons never came, and they thought it was a bunch of hubbubaloo until some people tried to bring their animals into Plainsview to sell them, and only to find that Plainsview was ruined and destroyed with nothing left in it. And at that point, they sort of realized what had happened, but the demons never arrived, and they sort of were always braced for disaster that never quite struck. And they count themselves lucky, and they like to praise the gods for their good fortune.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I guess I can find the temple, right? The church stood out, yeah. All right, yeah. I'll just make my way to the church and go meet up with Helen.
Okay. You arrive at the church. It's made of stone, has wood shingles on the roof, a tall spire that reaches up to maybe 40 feet at the very peak of it. Not that you could actually walk up that high. And inside the temple, you'll find a few practitioners worshiping. You'll find a couple of priests and priestesses there as well. None of one looks like Helen or matches her description.
I'll probably wait for somebody to finish up with their prayers. Wait for somebody to come up to me, I guess, and then ask after her.
Yeah. They will not look too surprised, and they'll say, "Oh, Lady Helen said that there would be a strange fair-haired traveler arriving. She is down below. Her workshop is in the old crypts."
I see. What can you tell me about her?
Lady Helen?
Yes.
She is very kind and compassionate. She does her best for the people, and we've had our disagreements with her. She is what we would call a fallen cleric, and at first we didn't want anything to do with her sacrilegious ways, but she never really pushed her philosophies on anyone, and she brings hope to some people and helps others. She was a trained medic. She once followed Martha, and while she no longer has her healing spells, she still can stitch a wound and bandage it well. She's been a good worker here. She often travels great distances and has gone for long periods of time, but she always returns, and when she brings back money, she hands it out to the poor. She helped us build this temple up from what it was before into what you see now. She's a 1 in a million. A spiritual woman who has no reverence for the gods, but makes her home in a temple and serves the people as if she were a true cleric, despite speaking openly against the gods. I have known her many years, and I have no idea what to make of her, other than she has been of great service to our people.
I see. Thank you.
Of course. What brings you to our little town, if I may inquire?
I had business with her, and I suppose I should go and speak with her.
Of course. He points to the crypts. There's a staircase on the back left side of the temple.
So I have a wonder here, Neal. If I see a person, right, and they're within 30 yards, do I need to have, like, let's say I were looking at somebody through a reflecting pool. Would I be able to cast a spell that targets them specifically if I can see them through the reflecting pool and they're within 30 yards, even if that's not a direct line of sight, technically?
I think reflecting pool, like
Because it's not.
Crystal
I'm not trying to
balls
send it
have a
through the reflecting pool so much as I'm trying, because it's not like a fireball or something, right? It's not like a magic
I
missile.
see what you're saying. Like if they're within 30 feet of you, but on the other side of the wall, but you have line of
but I
sight
have a
through
reflecting pool so I can see them.
Oh my god!
Can I use a targeted spell that doesn't like travel? It just targets them.
I have no idea. That's such a clever idea. I guess it would really come down to the type of spell. Like a fireball, for example, does travel from person to person. A hold person spell doesn't necessarily.
It's more like the hold person spell.
Right. I think you would still need a certain amount of line of effect. Like if there was magical darkness blocking the two of you, but you were able, like, you know, an infinitely thin wall of darkness, and she was on the other side, and you reflecting pool to her, you would have line of effect, and then you would create line of sight magically, so it would be fine. But if she's, like, on the other side of a stone and lead wall, probably not?
Mm-hmm.
If you would have line of sight and effect on the ethereal plane is probably a good way of judging whether or not it would work.
I guess the other thing I'm getting at is that this spell, they don't know that it's been casted on them. So the other thing is, how discreetly can this be casted in the first place?
I don't know what spell you're talking about.
It's called Thought Broadcast.
Ooh. Duration of the spell, everyone within 30 yards of the subject senses the subject's thoughts, making it impossible for him to lie, keep secrets, conceal motives, etc. The subject is not aware that his thoughts are being sensed. Everyone who senses these thoughts, on the other hand, knows their source. Broadcasts only the surface thoughts, motivations, not memories. There's no.
Yeah, so if I ask them a question, they'll think the answer, essentially.
Right. What was the question you posed to me again?
How discreetly can you even cast this spell if they don't necessarily know that you've cast it on them, but it does have like somatic and verbal components. So how exactly does this work?
Well, you have to. The material component is a small balloon that the priest inflates upon casting. Mm-hmm. So I think it's pretty obvious that you're going to be casting a spell.
Okay.
It's got all the components
around that then.
And for our purposes, a balloon is going to be like a sheep's bladder tied on one end or something.
I just really like the idea of I just like blow into it until it pops. That's... all right. I have another. She'll probably know that I'm casting spells, but that's okay. I've got thoughts for that.
All right. It is cool within the confines of the temple, but outside it is in the blazing June light in the middle of the Golden Sea. It's a hot and dusty day. The rainstorm that pounded this area ended weeks ago now. And, well, here you are. Mm-hmm. You've definitely noticed that there's a small group of people that have followed you, abandoning their work for the day, or at least for the time, to come poke their heads in the temple or watch from afar as the shining golden prince comes to their tiny little temple.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm good. Have I gone into the crypt yet? I haven't walked down.
Not yet.
Okay, I'm gonna head into the crypt.
What do you do with Jeeves?
I tell him to stay outside for now. He's just gonna mingle with villagers right now.
So he's not even in the temple. He's just outside.
Yeah, I don't want him in the
people.
temple. Yeah.
Okay. All right. You head down the steps and into the crypt.
Mm-hmm. First thing I'm gonna do before I even go any further in, I'm gonna go ahead and cast negative plane protection on myself.
Mm-hmm.
That's gonna last about 2 hours.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna go look around for Helen.
Okay. You will find Helen. She is within the crypts. There are a couple of rooms right at the beginning of the crypts. These are rooms where people might prepare the bodies of the dead to be interred, where you might have the supplies to expand the crypts, tools of the trade, that sorts of stuff. One of these rooms she has taken over. You can tell by the new door that is on it, and a little sign that hangs from it that says, what's the sign that you hang on a hotel door? What does it say? It doesn't say keep out. It doesn't say keep quiet. It says like busy or, you know what do not disturb. Got it. There's a little do not disturb sign hanging from a nail in the door.
Well, I'm gonna tap on the door and disturb her.
A few moments later, the door opens and Helen is standing there before you. She looks a little surprised to see you, regains her composure, and opens the door fully for you, gesturing inside. You can see in the middle of the room there is a slab on which there is a body and another slab on which there are bones. The body is that of a middle-aged woman, maybe in her 40s or something. And the bones look a lot like the bones of Malachi. A little bit of flesh still attached to them. The room is nice and cold because it's underground. And you can see that there are benches lining the walls with all sorts of embalming fluids and tools that one might use as an undertaker, as well as some healing supplies, a couple of books, some journals, and then some odd bits and pieces that you can't quite place or make. A few alchemical potions sit around. She motions you to enter and says, "I'm glad you could make it." Did you...
As am I. Hold on. This is delicate work that we're doing here. I'd see that this work remains private. I've become a bit cautious as of late. And I'm going to start preparing a few rituals here. So first I'm going to cast Ethereal Barrier across this room. So basically I need to line up basically chalk squares along the room. I can cover walls and ceiling and floor. And I'm going to line up this whole room. I use some lead as well. And I can Ethereal Barrier this whole room, and it blocks any passage by extra-dimensional creatures.
Okay, Ethereal Barrier is 2 10-foot squares per level, so you get 20 10-foot squares.
Yeah, it's no problem.
Which is more than enough to cover this entire room. The room might be like 15 by 15, so you easily do the whole thing.
If I were to light up any grounded creatures that happen to be invisible, would that cause them to start shining invisibly?
Probably not.
I mean, they'd be giving off light around them, right? Like if I held a torch, right, and I was invisible,
an invisible torch will shed light.
It'll shed light. So if I illuminate them, they'll start shedding light if they're in the room but invisible, right?
I suppose you might be able to, based on the shadows cast by the light, you might be able to tell the location, but you wouldn't see like a shimmering outline. It would just be
but I would know there's somebody there because I'd see them giving off light.
Right. It would change the lighting in the room significantly.
Okay. I'm going to thud the staff on the ground and illuminate all grounded creatures.
Just the two of you light up, but give me a perception check anyway, because the two of you are creating a lot of light in this 15 by 15 room. Maybe there's something so close that it's hiding in the light. It looks fine. It looks like it's just the two of you.
Next, I'm going to cast Thought Broadcast, and I'm going to target Helen with it.
Okay. She stands there sort of waiting for you to cast all these spells, not standing in your way. Does she get a saving throw?
If she tries to resist, she will get a save, but she doesn't have to. So if she's expecting, like, maybe I'm going to cast magic on her during this whole process, she might just forgo the save.
Yeah.
But at some point, I start, like, blowing into the balloon, and then I guess when I, like, tie it off, I say it's to hold in our breath to make sure it doesn't escape this room. And then the spell goes off.
Okay. The spell goes off.
All right. All right. Do I have anything else I want to throw out here? Like actual things to be safe? I already put negative plane protection on myself. So I think we're good, actually. Ooh, just in case, I'm gonna... How long does free action last? A turn per level? Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and cast free action on myself.
just in case.
Okay. It's a good spell to have on yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
The spells
and
have
then
been
I'm going
cast.
to say, are we prepared? And we'll see if I get a thought broadcast in response.
She says, not yet, but you get no broadcast of thoughts.
Shit. Okay. Ooh. All right. I'm gonna cast another spell here. Let me check how long this goes. Okay. I'm gonna cast Protection from Evil on myself. And at some point, I'm going to like gesture for her to walk over to me, right? Like, I'm just gonna go into the conversation here, right? We're gonna stop talking. But at some point, I'm gonna like walk up to the table. I'm gonna start examining the current process. I'm gonna see if she can like walk up to me, and I want to see if she can come within a foot of me during this process.
Okay. So what is the conversation? What is the bait you're using to test her out here?
I guess I'm gonna start saying like, so what exactly is this process? I'm still vague on the details.
Well, we need a spirit lure. Something that he valued, that will attract his soul. Then I amplify it, so it will pierce the shroud and reach into the spirit plane, so that his spirit will see it. It will also draw forth any other spirits that are about that might be attracted to it as well. So the next step is to single out his soul from the others, and then bind it to his flesh, which is a broad term. His bones will work as well, and it will force his spirit back into his bones. However, his bones ought to be made more whole than that. I'm not sure how it would work if he was just bone. I assume, maybe falsely, that flesh may be attached to it. And then she looks to the woman and looks to you and goes, I'm sorry, if there was some confusion. This is a recently dead person from our village. It has nothing to do with this. She's just being prepared for embalming on her own.
I see.
Yes. And then we tie his spirit to his bones or whatever other vessel we can create for him that is made of him, and maybe other things.
Mm-hmm.
And that is mostly it.
Mm-hmm. So I'm like walking around the room a little bit while this is happening. Are there any like open books at some point?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll start like looking around and carry on the conversation, like ask about some of the things that she has lying around. Really, my goal is for her to at some point attempt to walk up and get within a foot of me.
Right. The first book you look at is a simple anatomy book. It shows the locations of organs and everything, and there's a little note about, when embalming, take care to make sure to remove this organ and this organ, and, you can leave them back in, but only if you soak them in this thing for so long, and this is how you make that fluid and whatnot. It seems pretty mundane. There are plenty of books on the shelves, most of them having to do with the proper ways to inter bodies. There are a collection of books on a low shelf in a script you do not read. I think. What languages do you speak?
Dwarven, Common, and then Rudimentary Halfling.
Yeah. There's a book here that you don't understand. You've not seen its script before. It doesn't look like Elven. It's certainly not Dwarven or Halfling or anything like that. It's just like I guess it's like 3 or 4 books stacked together on a shelf. Call it 4 books for now.
Okay. At any point, does she like walk up next to me during any of this conversation?
She's staying pretty still, where near the door where she lets you in. And you walk around, inspect her lab, ask some questions, and then she has some questions of her own for you.
Okay.
Those spells you cast, I recognized maybe one of them, but the others I didn't recognize. And again, still no thoughts coming from her. What were you casting?
Me? The first one was an ethereal barrier. It'll block any passage from extra-dimensional creatures. It's something I've gotten a little bit used to. I've had a few too many instances of not just spirits, but when you teleport around as much as I do, the ability to block extra-dimensional travel is pretty handy.
Understood.
I've teleported into rooms before and fought creatures inside. I'd rather not be on the receiving end of such an experience.
Understandable.
I also protected myself from evil in the case of such an ambush.
That's the one I recognized.
Oh, I told you. That catches our breath.
What does that mean, catches our breath?
If you were to attempt to peer into this room audibly, so you can clairvoyance a room, correct? And you could see what's going on inside, but you could clairaudience a room as well and hear what's going on inside.
I see. You have many enemies, it appears.
Doesn't hurt to be careful. When you've journeyed as much as I have, even people who hold no ill will to me may be interested in what I know and what I possess.
You'll notice that a crystal ball resting on a small little stand made of thin little bones in one corner of the room, probably what was in her pouch before. Well, I am not entirely ready with my preparations. I have most of it down, I think. Do you have the lure with you? The spirit bait?
May. What exactly are you, Helen?
I am a woman who seeks to serve the people at the denial of the gods. I think they are cruel and selfish masters. All of them. Even Martha. I think we are their playthings, and it is our destiny to be their toys. I am simply rebelling against my destiny and serving to aid my companions, my fellow people.
I see.
How old does she look?
She's probably in her... She's in that, like, 20-30 range, you know? Late 20s, early 30s.
Oh, that's a bad age. Oh, no. I don't like that. I don't like that, Neal. I don't like that at all.
No.
See, if she was like 60 or 70, I'd be like, okay, probably not like a secret vampire or something. But like 20, 30, no, that's like prime material for secret vampire.
I mean, you're a 10th level cleric who's 21, 22?
I'm 24, I think.
24?
That's fair, but like, Van's a cleric, so clearly not a vampire.
Okay. That's true. She sees the prince pacing about. Is there a problem?
I don't know how I feel about this.
You're right. I haven't been entirely forthright with you. I cannot promise it for certain, but should we go through with this, I believe your goddess would look very unfavorably upon you.
That's not so much my concern. I think I've earned a retirement either way. If I lose my connection, then, well, sometimes we pay our prices for the decisions we make. I'm more worried about you, Helen.
Me? A strange woman walking to you in the middle of a rainstorm, telling you that she can resurrect your dead friend?
Yes.
What's ominous
exactly
about that?
Just about everything is ominous about that.
I understand.
Why would you go out of your way to help us? Why were you watching the battle in the first place? How did you even know of it?
She points to the crystal ball. I traveled for many years. I met many people. I served my goddess well. And she served me as much as she needed. And when my husband was murdered, and my children put in unimaginable agony, I was unable to reach them, but could see their suffering, and she gestures to the crystal ball. I asked my goddess to end their suffering, one way or the other. Make them immune to the pain, or just diminish their light. And my goddess said no. And I grew frustrated, and I turned to her sister, Varasi, goddess of death, and begged her to end the lives and the suffering of my children from afar. And she said no. And I watched, because how could I not, as they slowly died in a terrible way. And I realized that the gods are here, helping us to achieve their ends. Ending my children's life would not further the ends of either Varasi or Martha, and so they had no desire to do it. And if our desires conflict with that of the gods, then ours are cast aside for no reason other than it's just not worth their time or attention. You and I know they can work miracles from afar when they want to, and they are selfish in their use of power. And so I looked out for another way, and I found another way.
Romancy?
Not quite. But though there are those that would not make a distinction between what I do and necromancy. Those people are foolish, narrow-minded. I shall say no more about them, but it is fundamentally different.
How so?
I don't know how to explain it to you. How would you tell someone the difference between a cleric's light spell and a wizard's light spell? How would you tell a layman that the two, which produce nearly identical effects, are fundamentally different in nature? How could you explain that, other than saying arcane and divine?
Isn't that the root of the difference, though? The source that they stem from? One is a miracle granted from the divine, and the other is pulled from the earth.
In a similar way, necromancy is arcane. But those that practice the arcane arts decide to draw a line over here and say, this is not arcane magic, this is necromancy. And anything left of this line is necromancy. And if you look more closely, there are divisions within that, similar to divisions within evocation divination, conjuration. There is... These areas are so unstudied, we do not have terms for the deviations within them. One might feel free to call it charmed or spun or quirky or whatnot. The language around these things has been lost. I have only found 4 volumes on the topics that stem from a time long, long ago, during the Age of Might.
Tell me, Plainsview was sacked by the demons, but they didn't come here? They never made their way just a short few miles to your village?
As I understood it, they were drawn to Heatstroke. Plainsview was on the way. Our village was not.
They've been swallowing villages all around the area, sacking anything nearby. They destroyed Anvil, which wasn't directly on the way. They've destroyed other villages in the area, but not yours.
They did not take Hillsborough. They did destroy Rainwood. If you draw a line from Rainwood to Heatstroke, Plainsview is right in between.
Do you know Count Vicious?
I know of him.
You've never met?
I have never met him. Nor should I ever want to. I have heard things from our people that travel that way, and I stay away from the west. I stay away from fortune. You don't trust me, do you?
Don't.
Would you like to take him? Bury him on your own? No heretical magic has been performed. You could leave now, safely. Your divine soul intact, or whatever it is that the gods require of us to be their spirits, their casters, their vessels. At some point, you'll either have to trust me or not. And I know I haven't proven my trust to you. And I know I am telling you there is only a narrow window, and so you must trust me now or not at all. I understand the difficult position I put you in. I understand if you cannot give a strange woman that much trust so quickly.
I can't.
She dips her head.
I think Van will walk over to the table where Malachi's remains are at. Just kind of look at them for a few minutes and say, I'm sorry, Malachi.
She walks to the other side of the table and looks at his remains with you. And then scans about the room. We've already moved him once unceremoniously. I doubt a second time will matter. She produces a burlap sack from under one of the tables in a little cupboard and places it on top of his body.
Was she able to move, like, because she moved next to me, right, when she did that?
The opposite side of the slab of the, what do you call it? The death slab. I don't know what the proper term is.
Okay.
She places the burlap sack on it and says, I'll give you a moment to say your goodbyes? Or what have you? And she
I'll take
makes
care of it
for,
when I arrive home.
She makes for the exit.
Yep.
Opens the door, hesitates for a moment, and walks through it, shutting it behind her, leaving you in the crypt with Malachi.
All right. So there was is there like a tarp?
Yeah. Yeah, you can find a sheet.
I'm taking her tarp. I'm gonna wrap Malachi up in the tarp, carry him out.
Okay. All right. Carry Malachi out.
Yeah.
Back up the steps, out of the crypts, into the light of the temple above. Outside, you can see Jeeves. He's being hammered with questions by the villagers, and he is resolutely saying nothing. Helen is nowhere to be seen by the time you emerge.
Mm-hmm. Shit. All right. Fuck. All right. Let's go home, Jeeves. Oh, the solo, like, the palanquin is gone, so I guess we have to stay here overnight.
Okay. The temple will be happy to put you up. They ask your name at some point. Do you identify yourself as Prince Van Helsing of Drekis?
Yeah, I guess.
They will definitely put you up then.
Yeah.
Happily. And come morning, you can cast your spell. And was the ship going to wait for you at Anvil?
I have no idea.
All right.
I have absolutely no idea. I don't. We didn't even talk about that. Probably not. I think we're schlumming it the rest of the way back.
Okay.
Which isn't really a problem until we get to. Actually, I don't think it's ever really a problem because we can just go down to. Oh wait, this is bad. This is bad area, right? Around here.
Yeah. This is bad juju.
Here.
Yeah. These people will imprison you if you try and pass their boundaries. Not to mention there's like a age class 12 wingless green dragon in this region who like haunts those grounds, and a whole nest of giants over here. Yeah.
Okay. Well, you know what I could do instead? So I can solipsism pretty much anything, right?
Yeah, as long as you can believe in it.
Could I... What's like a humanoid flying creature that I've seen before?
Arakara?
Have I seen those?
Let's see. You've probably heard of them. You've never seen them. Griffins? They're not humanoid, but they fly, and you've seen those.
Yeah, I could do Chimera as well. They're pretty strong.
Chimera? Yeah.
What I'm thinking here is I can make a palanquin that's being hoisted by a bunch of flying creatures and just fly over all of our problems.
You could.
Oh my god, they're like carrying it by ropes on the ends. Like each corner is being held by a chimera with its claws as it like carries our palanquin.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, you Chimera Palanquin, you and Jeeves back to Drekis. The only things that could possibly get in your way would be flying monsters. The only real flying monsters in this area... Stream is dying. Great. I think there's nothing in your way.
Perfect.
Somebody suggests I should have made the airship. Oh, could you imagine you solipsism a second wizard airship? And you just kind of cruise around, never having to go to sleep because of unfailing endurance.
Okay. Why don't we go to break right here, and we'll come back and do a short bit on the other side.
All right.